Thank you for joining me for the Me and White Supremacy virtual pilgrimage afterward. Final thoughts, whatever we might want to call it. My name is the Reverend John Borthwick, and I'm the minister here at St. Andrew's in Guelph. And as I've said for many weeks, I've been encouraging my congregation to join me as I reflect personally on the Me and White Supremacy book by Layla Saad. It's been an amazing journey. I've been blessed with wonderful conversation partners and fellow pilgrims along this journey. This has been amazing in so many ways. I just wanted to offer just a final few thoughts of maybe unpacking a bit of what I'm thinking about as I look ahead, as this comes to a conclusion. And so I guess what I'd say to begin is the thing that triggered me in the beginning of this journey was twofold. And I think I've talked about this before in the videos, and if not, then hear it for the very first time. The two things that really came to light for me was that as a leader in a church, and as a person who is white and male, filled with privilege and all sorts of this way of seeing the world, the things that sort of called out to me, maybe the prophetic voice that I needed to hear to begin this journey around anti-racism, a commitment to practicing anti-racism, was really two things. One, that the privilege allows me to not engage with this work. In my own congregation, I'm sure there would be some people in my congregation who would be incredibly happy if I just never spoke about this material at all, if I never talked about anti-racism, if I never used the words white supremacy, if I never engaged in this virtual pilgrimage at all. Because it makes us uncomfortable. And that's what privilege is. It's about comfort. I could have said, I'll do maybe a sermon on it, or I'll talk a little bit about it once or twice in this context that I get to lead and serve in. But, other than that, we don't want to overwhelm people with anti-racism, I guess. That was the first call into my heart, that it's really I have the choice, and BIPOC does not have the choice. But I have this choice where I can play with it a bit and then just put it away, can dabble in it and just walk away. I can ignore it completely, and within my own community, within the community that I serve, that's predominantly white-centered, no one would be bothered by that, really. So that was the first call out to me as I heard that. And the second call out I heard was really about that once you step in this water, you need to commit to it. That it's a lifelong journey. It's not just something that you're going to start and finish in 28 weeks. But this is an everyday commitment, a lifetime of commitment to learning, to growing, to acting and practicing anti-racism. And so that's why it seemed to me helpful for my own life journey to decide to do the virtual pilgrimage and decide it was going to be not 28 days, but 28 weeks, to have this sort of feeling of, we're going to talk about this every single week. Every single week it's going to be in our email blast to our congregation. Here's yet another reflection by Reverend John on the book Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad. And so as I conclude this virtual pilgrimage, these are the commitments that I'm going to make, essentially. The commitment to continue to see the world with the lens of anti-racism, to be intentional in bringing it into the fore of the places and spaces that I occupy in my leadership here at St. Andrew's in Guelph and in my daily living. To understand that this is a lifelong commitment, this isn't ever done, and to engage in all the possible ways where either my voice or my leadership or just my person and my being can be someone who is clearly committing to the practice of anti-racism in all the spaces and places that I occupy. by raising up BIPOC voices where I can, and quietening myself in spaces that I don't need to speak into, by supporting, encouraging, lifting up, engaging in conversation, committing to come alongside organizations that are BIPOC, that are working towards anti-racism, to working to changing the world that we live in for the future good. And obviously I'll continue my learning journey as well, but I continue to remind myself that it cannot stop there. As I learn, as I read, as I consume material and understand better the world of the practice of anti-racism, it cannot just stop with me learning. It cannot just stop with me saying, I read a bunch of books and now I'm something, something. It has to consistently have some level of commitment to making a change in the world as I see it, as I encounter it, and to making tangible differences in the way that our world currently exists, how it was designed to exist, and trying to seek ways of changing for the good of all. And so, as Layla has reminded us so many times, it is truly choosing to do something that is not easy, but what is right, and continuing on that path and that journey for the rest of my life. I thank you for joining me for the Me and White Supremacy virtual pilgrimage. I hope that we will engage in other things online virtually through this platform. And if you've been inspired, encouraged by this, and you haven't yet read the book, what are you waiting for? Get the book. And if you're interested, there's also now been a new book published that's actually for young readers, and there'll be links to that in the comments below. So I'd encourage you, if you're a grandparent, a parent, and you're wondering, how do I have these big conversations with a child, a child in my life, a grandkid, my own children? How do I do that? There's a great resource now for young readers to engage in this very material as well. And I'd encourage you to check that out. There'll be other resources, other things that we'll engage in, and other conversations that I look forward to having. Thank you for being a part of this long journey that's been impactful to me personally, to certainly my fellow pilgrims, and I hope to you. Thank you so much.